And I want to introduce wonderful, wonderful Governor Howard Dean.
This is about winning. I mean, it's fun to come back to Maine, and it's great, and all that. But I came here because we want to win Maine, and we want you to do everything you can to make sure Tom Allen wins Maine while we're visiting. The Democrats have just opened a youth-oriented campaign office. It's at 305 Commercial Street in Portland. And there are a group of volunteers around here with clipboards. Before you leave, we'd like to get your name because we need your help. And so if you will give your name to one of the staffers here with a clipboard, we're going to put you to work. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to put you to work in a bit. Now, we've just come through an extraordinary primary season. I did not know the 50-state strategy meant that every single one of the 50 primaries counted and mattered. And it's been hard and it's been long. And Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton provided an extraordinary time for Democrats. Two of the greatest candidates that we've had in many, many, many years. And only one of them could win. So I want to say thank you to all the people who were for Hillary Clinton who came here today to make sure that we stood up for our country. Because it's not easy to do that. I had to do that 4 years ago, and I didn't win. And it's not an easy thing to do, and we appreciate it. But one of the things that's good about the long primary is that we had a dress rehearsal for the main event a very few months before the general election. And people went out, 36 million people went out and voted in these caucuses and primaries all over America. And we have all those people in our voter file, and we're going to get a lot more out to work. This was a big deal. People really want change in this country. And there's only one candidate left that can provide that kind of change, and his name is Barack Obama. There are a lot of young people in this audience, and I want to talk a little bit about young people. Because this is a transformational election. There hasn't been an election like this in America since 1960, when most of you were not alive. In 1960, John F. Kennedy ran against Richard Nixon. Actually, they were pretty close to being exactly the same age. But John F. Kennedy represented a new generation, a new way of looking at the world. And he represented hope. And Richard Nixon represented what we now all know Richard Nixon represented. And it was a very close election, and this election is going to be a very close election. Let's make no mistake about that. It is going to be a very close election, which is why I'm here asking for your help in Maine. But there is an extraordinary change going on in America. It's a generational change. I want to tell you about the under 35 generation. In 2004, people under 30 at that time increased their turnout by 20% over 2000, and 56% of them voted for John Kerry. In 2006, people under 32 at the time, increased their turnout by 24% over 2002, the previous off-year election, and they voted 61% for the congressional candidates for Democrat. Now, for the Democratic candidates for Congress. Now, these young folks, they don't necessarily register as Democrats. They often register as independents or no party, but they vote for the Democrats because they want change. They are a multicultural generation. They see, that doesn't mean racism is dead in America, but it is a different generation in terms of who they grew up with and who they're comfortable with. And one of the reasons they're so comfortable with us is because we are the party that gives everybody opportunity. When they look at us, they see that they could be president of the United States in 20 years. When they look at the Republicans, they look like they're 1950s daytime soap opera television. They do. This is the party that looks like America, and that is America. This is the party that stands up to working people. You know, I tell people about Maine, people think, oh, New England's New England's trending Democratic. I tell people how hard it is in Maine, in northern Maine, where it is not unusual. In fact, I think it is usual for people to drive 50 miles in each direction to get to their jobs. How hard that is when gasoline is selling at $4.16 a gallon, thanks to the policies of George W. Bush, John McCain, and Susan Collins, who voted for every single one of George W. Bush's energy plans. Who ran for president of the United States have the slightest idea how hard it is for rural Americans who are barely scraping by, when the paper industry is leaving, to commute to their jobs 50 miles. And it's what happens when gas prices go up 300% in the last 8 years, thanks to what the Republicans have done to this country. We can do better. We're a better country than that. And we can take care of people, and we will. Not take care of people, but take care that they have the same kind of opportunities that we have. And this young generation is an extraordinary generation. The other thing about this generation, which is kind of neat, by the way, I don't have numbers for 2007. I gave you numbers for 2004 and 2006. In 2008, in the primary in Alabama, 60% of people under 30 years old voted the Democratic primary. In Alabama, the third most conservative state in America. This country is ready for a change, a big, big change. And Barack Obama is going to lead that change, and it's going to be the change that's going to usher in the new generation to change this country. And I think it's going to be a very positive change, and I'm really looking forward to it. John McCain represents the policy of the past. John McCain and Susan Collins, I'm sorry to say, take care of people, but take care that they have the same kind of opportunities that we have. And this young generation is an extraordinary generation. The other thing about this generation, which is kind of neat, by the way, I don't have numbers for 2007. I gave you numbers for 2004 and 2006. In 2008, in the primary in Alabama, 60% of people under 30 years old voted the Democratic primary. In Alabama, the third most conservative state in America. This country is ready for a change, a big, big change. And Barack Obama is going to lead that change, and it's going to be the change that's going to usher in the new generation to change this country. And I think it's going to be a very positive change, and I'm really looking forward to it. John McCain represents the policy of the past. John McCain and Susan Collins, I'm sorry to say, voted with George Bush 100% of the time to send our troops to Iraq. Voted with George Bush 100% of the time to keep our troops in Iraq. We need to bring our troops home from Iraq. The difference between John McCain and Barack Obama on Iraq is 98 years in Iraq. We can do better than that. Our troops need to come home, as Barack Obama has promised, within 16 months, and not spending over there. And, we have this ad out there that talks about John McCain's policy of keeping the troops in Iraq for 100 years if necessary. The Republicans were fit to be tied. Well, it didn't really mean that they would be in combat. They don't get it at all. Our troops don't belong in Iraq, if they're in combat or not, because we need that money here at home, so the gas prices are so we can tell our schools to start running our property taxes to the roof. We never have money at home, so all the Americans can have health insurance. We can join all the other against our democracy in the country, in the world. We need our troops home, and we need our American money home, because we need jobs again in America, and Barack Obama will give us jobs and an economy that makes sense, instead of this borrow and spend, borrow and spend. The fact is, you cannot trust Republicans with your money. Borrow and spend, borrow and spend. The only president that balanced the budget in the last 40 years in the United States of America was named William Jefferson Clinton. He is a Democrat. Just this week, Senator McCain said that he thought the way Social Security was funded was a disgrace, and we ought to privatize Social Security. Don't they ever learn? Don't they ever learn that Social Security is not an entitlement program. Social Security is what made it possible for seniors not to have to worry about starving to death. Before Social Security, before Franklin Roosevelt, seniors were the poorest people in America. We need Social Security. It is all that stands between folks that don't get pensions or that get their pensions taken away in the union-busting atmosphere that John McCain and Susan Collins and George Bush have set up, all that stands between them and being able to feed themselves and take care of themselves in their old age. We're not going to take away Social Security, and we're certainly not going to put it in the stock market, which just has had one collapse after another. We need a Social Security program that was run the way the Democrats set it up 65 years ago, and we're going to keep that with Barack Obama, and you better watch out if John McCain becomes president, because your Social Security is in trouble if he doesn't. We are not going to let that happen. And I want you to elect Shelley Pingree and Tom Allen to make sure that that does not happen.